we stopped marketing. We stopped promoting, we stopped advertising. Instead, put new Harleys on semis and took them out to like blue-collar centers in America. Picture your Detroits, Clevelands, and let anybody that wanted to take one out for a 15-mile ride do it. And they did. This was their first opportunity to stand toe-to-toe with people from the factory and let us know what a lousy job we'd been doing. And in less than 4 years, we went from deep in the red to being sold out.
So before getting into Harley, let's say 1985, were you riding a lot of motorcycles before then? Wait a minute, what got you interested in this?
I was a lifelong motorcycle lover, going all the way back, starting with mini bikes. To me, and for a lot of people my age, and certainly the people that I grew up with, our lives were changed by Evel Knievel. What he was doing on motorcycles was so exciting, and so inspiring in a million ways to get us out of the house. First of all, modifying our bicycles and jumping them over anything that could be jumped and mangling ourselves for our own entertainment. And then the thought of, this would be a lot more fun if these things were motorized. And worked our way into it that way. Mini bikes that evolve into dirt bikes, that evolve into street bikes, and so I've never not loved motorcycles.
Yeah, that's amazing. So my guess is we're about the same age, and I remember extending the forks on my regular bicycle, and then taking a Briggs and Stratton engine and building our own little mini bike and centrifugal clutch, and having that thing fly, and then getting a Honda and riding the trails around Spokane, Washington, out in the woods, and then that just went on to, actually for a while I raced dirt bikes, and Honda sponsor me, but these were long, desert, outdoor 100+ mile races. Love that. Had lots of street bikes over the years, but typically the faster ones. I shouldn't be here today because all these 100+ mile an hour wheelies down the freeway on my 1000R Ninja, it would go over 180 miles an hour, and I would do that on the way to skydiving, every weekend down in Coolidge. Today I actually have two bikes. I have a K1600 BMW and a 1000RR BMW, and wow, they're fun. I haven't been on them for about a year and a half, 2 years. I got kind of sick, but I'm better now.
Oh, good.
And looking forward to getting out, and now that the weather's cooling off.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that we share that penchant for doing things that other people might say, you might want to slow down a little bit, but it's too much fun. They really are.
It's incredible. So in your book, Make Some Noise, The Unconventional Road to Dominance, I love that book, read it over the last week. And, kind of curious. I mean, you really make this distinction between, it's not about the features, it's about how people feel. Was that immediately obvious to you when you went to Harley-Davidson?
I wish that it was, because and you would have thought late that at that point in time that would be obvious, because Harley-Davidson, just the name, would engender feelings and reactions in people. But what we believed, and to my amazement, what just about every business in the world I encounter today believes, is that what they do, what they make, what they sell, is the reason for existence. And if they can do that consistently and do it consistently better, that they'll always be competitive. And what we learned, to our kind of horror, and what I've learned to marshal and challenge and use for advantage, is, man, if a business is known for what it does, it's not competitive. Because unless you're the only people in the world that are doing what you're doing, you've got the cure for infectious diseases. Yeah, the world's going to find a path to your door, but everything's commoditized now. And there's, nothing that anyone can sell me that I can't get from somebody else, probably for less money. So when all you're known for is what you do, You're not competitive. It's impossible to build preference. You build lawnmowers. Well, so do 50 other companies. What else have you got?
Yeah, and the ones that win, just kind of thinking through it, because this has been your world, is it always because they were better at building community and emotional connection with customers?
If you look at, in my mind, the businesses that people like, businesses that people love, are fond of, or will actually speak of, and it's kind of rare to find people that will just openly, recommend or talk about a business, no matter how big the business is, are those businesses that have made it a point to make their entire approach to business more about elevating people and plugging into, this human species to humanize their business so people could associate, human values and qualities with those businesses. Businesses that do that, I'll compete. Those that don't, because now the market and your customers feel like they know you. And if they know you, they're more inclined to, prefer you over businesses that they don't know. And if you do things for human beings that they like or that please them, humans come back for more of that. We can't turn that off inside of us. We are drawn to things that please us and delight us. And if you're making an effort to delight me, to go beyond simply selling me a piece of hardware or a piece of software, whatever that might be, that I can sense in everything that you're doing with me and for me and on my behalf is driven by a passionate desire to please me and delight me. Well, I like you. I'm coming back for more of you. I'm attaching human qualities to your business. It's beyond, I see you beyond the thing that you're trying to sell me.
Yeah. Yeah. What did it feel like? I want to be part of that, all the way through. And I love the concept in your book around R&R. What do we want people to remember and repeat? And I find it wild when I talk to, a lot of CEOs, so what do you do? What's your, and if I ask the question, what do your customers say about you? What do you want them to say about you? They don't have a very good answer to that. And that is interesting.
It's never not blown my mind, because I can go any place on the planet if I'm consulting for somebody or consulting for a business and they call me, and it's always the first thing that I do. If I'm in a boardroom somewhere or an executive committee meeting of some kind, and I've got everybody sitting there at a table, I said, I'll just spell out a real easy scenario, something they can all identify with. Say, a customer of your business or an investor, someone that someone that you would claim to have a relationship with, a great relationship, maybe somebody that you just met, is sitting on a plane next to somebody who would be the biggest client, the biggest customer this business has ever had. Right. And they're having a conversation about a need that this potential whale customer has. And that need that person has just happens to be what your business does, who you are. So the person who knows you is about to describe you to this other person and what could be the most valuable conversation that will ever take place about your business. What would you want that person to say? Now you tell everybody, you got 90 seconds to write that down. And they'll write it down, they'll pass it forward. If there's 6 people at the table, I'll get 6 completely different answers. And I said, do you see a problem here? And I said, if you're the leadership of this business who arguably know it better, or certainly should know it better than anybody here, because you set the tone and the tenor for everybody working here. If you don't have this unanimous response, I believe, of who you are, who you do things for, why you do it, why people should prefer you, how can you expect your employees to know that? And then how can you expect the market to know that? If we don't have agreement in this room, you see, we have a pretty big problem. And it's, to your point, Lee, it's everywhere. Or marketing people can solve that. No, we're not talking about marketing. The leadership of the business sets the tone for the business.
And why do you think that is? Is it that, hey, the one or two of the leaders, the CFO, the founder, the CEO, they understand us, they just assume everybody else does? I don't even think they fully understand it.
I'm quite sure that they don't, Lee, because what I will typically get is pushback, and I'm sure you get this too. Listen, look, we are laser focused on efficiency. We are laser focused on continuously improving the quality of our products and our services and our activities and all those things that we do. Of course you are. Who isn't? Find me somebody who's doing crappy work on purpose. There's not many of them out there. That's the basic table stakes of business. And if you're not thinking about the reputation of your business, who you are as people and what you represent in the marketplace, if you're not actively managing, your reputation, what's being said about you, someone else is going to do it for you. And why would you ever want that to happen? And you always have to tell people, and I'm sure you see this too, Lee, that you guys aren't the cure for cancer. You believe 100% in what you're doing, and you're really good at it. And that's not. And if the whole world knew that, you'd have 100% of the market. And you certainly wouldn't be talking to me or any other consultant, because you'd be off buying your own private islands somewhere. The world doesn't work that way. Being good at something is the entry point now in business. If it ever wasn't, right? You have to stand for something else that transcends all of that. And that's not a marketing thing. And please don't try to delegate this to your marketing department. They can't do that for you.
I feel like it's a whole company effort. It's every single team member. So I go back to the largest company that I've started and sold. I sold it in 2016. It was called Able Aerospace, and we grew from nothing. Myself and two others that agreed to work for free for a year until we could afford to pay ourselves, and it worked out really well. But fast forward 23 years later, we have over 500 team members. We have 2,000 customers, 60 countries. In that space, we were safely reducing aircraft operating costs. And basically what we did was help our customers safely transport people and packages while reducing operating costs. We'd save them a couple $100 million a year over the next best value alternative. Everybody knew us. Our competitors, billion-dollar players out there, couldn't compete with us. And the thing that we did is we leaned into the community everywhere. Like at the trade shows, we were the most attended, hospitality, suites, booths, parties, all of that. People didn't come as an obligation. They came because they had fun, and we're flickering the lights at 2 a.m. to ask people to leave. So we weren't intentionally doing it the way you talk about. What do we say? What do they say? What do we want them to say? What do we want them to remember and repeat? But they were all repeating a really good story about that. And so I think for us, it was leaning into the community everywhere. We had amazing people wanting to work for us. Customers talked about us. What does that tell you as I kind of go through that? I feel like we were doing what you're talking about, just not as intentionally as you go through in your book.
First of all, I think you were, nothing to do with the book, but you were intentionally doing that because you were saying, hey, look, we're able to not just attract people to who we are here, but to keep them here. So we're doing things for them in their presence that they're going to remember, and remember positively. And if they have the chance to come back and do it again, they're going to come back and do it again. And that's a lesson that the overwhelming majority of businesses have never learned or stopped to think about. And I'm glad you used the trade show or expo example, because sometimes if I'm at a big meeting or a convention and I'm out there with some CEOs or corporate leaders, I'll say, let's go have a look at who's failing right now. And they say, well, why would you want to do that? I say, because it's so obvious. You just need to know what to look for. And you enter a trade show environment and you see exactly what you're going to see. Fantastic products. Well lit, wonderful booths, bowls full of candy and treats, and people sitting in those booths or standing in those booths, greeting people as they come in, and immediately lapsing into, what may be a somewhat rehearsed 3-second, hi, thanks for coming in today. Were you interested in the new, Velociraptor TRP, hydro lifter? Sure. So, here's the brochure. And then they walk on to the next one. And you say to the CEO, what just happened here? Because let me tell you what just happened here. Absolutely nothing just happened here. The guy got a brochure and saw the product. And guess what? He's going to walk 2 booths down and see something that looks pretty damn similar to what he just saw here. He or she going to hear the same little spiel about how their Velociraptor thingamabob, has the highest levels of quality and the lowest tolerances for, or the highest levels of, product integrity tolerance and all this other kind of stuff. And so what is somebody going to remember when they're back in their office? Think about how much money is being wasted here. But they're all going to come back and tell their boss, oh my God, we met with, 1,000 people. And they really love the new stuff, and the feedback that we're getting is good. And that's great. We're going to go to more of these shows and piss away all our money, accomplishing nothing versus you. They liked you as people, or they wouldn't have been there. If you're having to turn the lights off to get them out of the room, they like you as people. And when they like you as people, and when they think of your business, the first thing they don't think of is the product or the service being sold. They think of the person, the people behind it. And that's when you're rock solid.
Yeah. And that's always been what's most important to me in all of my different companies. And I think for all the stuff I'm even doing today, there's even more work we can do around what we want people to remember and repeat. So, thank you for the book going through it. But talk through that a little bit. How you've worked with a lot of teams. How difficult is it for them to be super honest around what they say about themselves, and then finding out what customers are saying, and then crafting what they want them to say, even if it's not who they are, but it's what they're going to grow into?
Yeah. Well, first, just for a tiny bit of background on my first day at Harley, I was, thinking about how are we going to get people here rallied behind anything. Business is teetering on bankruptcy. The world at large views this as abhorrent. The media is printing the company's obituary. 40% of the workforce has been laid off. Morale is terrible. It's a smokestack industry and a smokestack town. So I sat behind my typewriter. I always like to pause after saying typewriter just because it feels fun coming out.
I was that one.
That kind of dates me. And typed out 3 questions. What are people saying? What do we want them to say? And what are we doing to get them to say it? And kind of tacked it up in my office and then out in front of my office and watched as this thing started to migrate as it was used in more conversations. Look, we need to get people to think of this business the way we wish it to be thought of and spoken of. And right now they're not. They're saying everything they're saying about us is negative or is tied, is only about the product. They make motorcycles. That's not right. So does Honda. So does BMW. So does Kawasaki and Suzuki, and all really, really, really good product. So we need to stand for things with the people that we serve and hope to serve that transcend product. And what would happen is we would get into meetings with CEO and the CFO, marketing people, communication people, engineers. What would you want people to say about, and God is my witness, like 100% of people say, oh my God, they superior quality, great quality products, great reliability, great rideability, great commitment to customer satisfaction. I said, if you saw those words on a piece of paper, what business would you think that was defining? And everybody say, well, us. And I said, that defines every business that exists on the planet. And people would not immediately see the bigger picture here. Well, this is what we do. And if we do it better, hearts, minds, and dollars will come back our way. And I was like, tell me of a time when that was true, of a business that did that and pulled it off. We need to stand for things that are different than the businesses that we're losing to. Because their names are more famous or equally certainly famous to ours, and their products cost less, even though they're really, really good. In a lot of ways, superior to what we are doing. So what's our argument then? As we have to be more human in our approach to everything. We need people to like us because, and then this was the one of the great kind of discoveries for a lot of people was, because so many people out there have Harley's name tattooed on their bodies. And God knows lots of Harley employees have that logo tattooed somewhere on their body. The belief was always that those tattoos are emblematic of people's loyalty to our motorcycles, to our products. And I would always, that's the thinking that has bankrupted this business, that we're here to do something and make something. Because we've been making it for a long time and nobody's coming around anymore. Right? People aren't loyal to products. They're loyal to the people behind the products, behind the service, behind what's done here. And we as a company, we've disappeared. We're not visible. We're not involved. People have no idea of the passion and the commitment and the energy and the soul of this business because they haven't seen it. All they see is the product going down the road. And so they judge the business based on that. And what you could start to see slowly at first, but from the CEO who became a huge believer in humanology and being a more human business, this kind of nugget, there's something here. Let's keep doing this. Let's find ways to be more visible. Let's find ways to be more, so people can see our passion and our commitment. And at the same time, I was pushing so hard on this, let's create a vernacular for this business that none of our competitors could have or would even think about using, which means we're not going to talk about quality anymore and commitment to customer satisfaction. We can if you ask, but if we're leading with that, we're commoditizing ourselves. We're the guys at the trade show handing out the brochure. And trust me, that took a lot of convincing to get, at least initially, to get people to bite on this notion that our product is not going to be the savior here. We are. Putting the human face on this business is what's going to ultimately make us more competitive.
Yeah, they really built a community. There's this, huge brotherhood, growing sisterhood of Harley riders out there. And I can't think of another company where the logo is tattooed on them. So my consulting business, ETW, I've asked employees if they'll do it. More money, they put it on their forehead, but nobody's done it yet.
Oh, come on. They're waiting for you, Lee. You got to do it first.
I know, right? But it's incredible. And last week I was in Austin at a large conference for CEOs. There's probably 500 attendees, and 60 or 70% of them were actually, CEOs of companies, small, medium, and very large. And I'm hanging out, and I'm reading your book last week, and I'm listening to this founder of a architectural business, commercial, I think designing really cool stuff, say we just can't find talent. They've got around 200 employees, mostly engineers, because we just don't have a very sexy business. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Like, that's the coolest thing ever, designing and building this stuff. But if they're talking about it, that energy is going through the organization, and no wonder they're not finding anyone. So what's your advice there? Because I like the way you talk about it in the book, and I've watched hours of your podcast. Every business is amazing, I think, because we get to work with people. And if nothing else, you're providing jobs so a lot more folks can support their families. Like it's so cool. But what's your advice? Because I hear that a lot. Ours just, we're not Harley. We're not.
Oh God, everywhere. If I'm speaking or I'm consulting, and people say, "Yeah, well, hold on, I get that, Ken, because you were working with this, really sexy, iconic business with these big, loud, beautiful, products that, Elvis rode around on and, all this cool stuff in Hollywood." And I was like, wait a minute here. we're not, I've never spoken of selling products and selling motorcycles. And I said, and if you're running a business or even a department within the business and saying that what you do is boring, and I get that all, yeah, what we do is boring. Quit. Run away quickly because you're destroying the business. You're ruining it for everybody else. Because if that's what you're saying about it, that's what the people underneath you are saying about it. At the end of the day, businesses are people. People selling to, serving to, hoping to serve, delight other people. And if we're doing that better than anybody else, we're going to be more successful than other businesses are. Either I like you or I don't. I like you or I don't, not based on the piece of hardware that you slid across the table and tried to sell me or whatever it is. And that's the thing that gets lost. And the other part that gets lost is that anybody, regardless of the size of the business, anybody who works for a living models the behavior of the people above them, of the boss, of the manager, of the director, of the shop steward, if it's a manufacturing thing. That's human nature. We do what they do. We say what they say. So when you're in a position of authority and what we do is, hey, what we do here isn't very exciting, but pow, everybody got that message very, very clearly. So that's what they're saying. And that's what they believe. You know what? They're always going to spend half their workday thinking, maybe I should be working somewhere else where it's more exciting, where the people are doing something cool. Because even the leaders here say it's dull and boring.
That's crazy.
Killing themselves.
I've talked to a number of business owners over the years that have said things like, this just getting bored. I want to do something else. And I'm like, okay, note to self, never go in business with this person and never invest in the first, because you start anywhere and go everywhere. I remember the aerospace business I described. We started as this little electroplating operator and then developed some repairs for aircraft operators and hit the road selling, 8 months of the year, 7 of these repairs. And when I saw we had 10,000 repairs, hundreds of thousands of square feet of manufacturing, repair, processing space, and I could see a path to $1 billion company and beyond. It's that excitement about we're right here, we're going down that road. I like your metaphor, like where are you looking? When you talk about the motorcycle, and there's literally no end to it. You don't know what's around the corner, but it can probably be pretty cool. So how do you think about that? Because people that are bored with what they're doing, wow, it's a weird, interesting, limiting belief in my view.
And we're inherently social creatures. So, and we spend every waking hour of our lives seeking some measure of joy or delight. We don't feel it while we're doing it, but we're always drawn to it. Anything that's going to make me happy, I'm going to lean toward, walk toward, move toward. And if people resolutely feel that they are bored with what they're doing, that they're tired of what they're doing, they, first of all, need to make some kind of effort within their working environment to spend more time with other people that work there, because nothing is more contagious than enthusiasm. Nothing is more, fulfilling to our soul than somebody talking to us and sharing delight in something that they feel good about. But when we block that stuff, we don't have access to it. We keep ourselves separate from that. Yeah, we're going to become bored very, very, and just kind of stew in our own boredness, if that's even a word. And like you, I hear this all the time. I feel trapped here. I wish I could be doing something else, but I'm responsible for all these people and your stuff. And then I said, well, then what gets you up in the morning? Well, what would happen if I didn't? To your point, would you say that to an investor? Of course not. But first of all, don't say it to me, but look, nobody is forcing you to be bored and disinterested. For God's sake, be human. Just try it for a day and see what happens when you walk up and talk to people within your business that aren't used to hearing from you. When you see the person sitting at their desk or in the upper right-hand corner on the Zoom call that person up by name, ask them what they're doing this weekend. And then as they're telling you what they do, just react. That sounds cool. Tell me more. As you begin to just have that level of engagement with somebody that they feel that you're interested in them, you're going to find that you're becoming really interested in who they are. So yeah, these are the people that I work with. This is my team. Yeah, we make dental back office software. So yeah, the average person on the street wouldn't describe it as the sexy or cool. We're cool. We're cool people here doing cool stuff. We could do this. That's all a mindset thing. And people allow themselves to be trapped into thinking, that it's not cool and that they're boring. You can't live that way.
Yeah, I think there's something really important here. A lot of folks will look at somebody else's situation and say, man, I really wish I had that. That must be so much easier, so much more fun, doing that particular thing. And for me, the difference is you can make it where you're at. And if you went over there and did that thing, if you started a business around that, you would probably be in the same place, bored and not interested. It's how you show up. And so I also feel like there's a lot of companies that are looking for this magic pill, and we're just going to do this and set it and forget it. But it has to be in the DNA of the business to make it happen. It's not this set it and forget it thing. How did you get? Obviously, this was a huge team effort at Harley, but how did you get them to change the DNA of the business? How did the team, make that happen? And what did you learn in that transition?
The core piece of learning, Lee, was that 100% of this, of repositioning a business, of rekindling a culture of being more human, resides in the top person or the top people. Again, because not only does the executive team or the CEO set the tone for the business, but they are the people that are being emulated. So their tone, their behavior is what the rest of the organization, one way or another, is modeling. So nothing moves forward, especially if you're trying to change or drive some evolution within a business, without very active participation and involvement of the CEO. And what we found at Harley, I'll tell you I'll try to tell a quick story here. When we first began as a company allowing people to take a test ride on one of our motorcycles, and there was no such thing as a test ride of a new motorcycle in the motorcycle industry anywhere, because everyone was afraid of liability. You take a different look at liability when you're broke. That's the sue us, we ain't got nothing school of risk management. We stopped marketing. We stopped promoting. We stopped advertising. We barely had the money to do it anyway. And instead put new Harleys on semis and took them out to like blue collar centers in America. Picture your Detroits, Clevelands, and let anybody that wanted to take one out for a 15-mile ride do it. And they did. And what we began noticing was that a lot of people who were showing up were what I call the disenfranchised, the people who were the Harley loyalists, the people who had the tattoos. A lot of them were Vietnam, Korean War, even World War II era vets, who this was their first opportunity to stand toe to toe with people from the factory in the presence of the products and let us know what a lousy job we'd been doing. How'd you screw this up? Well, I counted on you. I've supported you for years. You don't race anymore. The warranty stuff is horrible. And what would happen is we would bring this feedback back and present it to the executive team. And what we saw was that the blows would hit the body but bounce off. And after like the second or third week of this, I started connecting some dots to say, when you're hearing someone else's complaint secondhand, it doesn't affect you. It's like, sucks for them. We need to work on that. the dots that connect. You guys have to be the ones that are out hearing this. If we're going to affect any change here in the business, the people who have the most impact or the most opportunity to change things and make things better are the people sitting in this room right here, right now. So you need to go out, and we're going to bring out the head of manufacturing, union shop stewards, head of just anybody. We're going to put the people most responsible for the business in front of customers. And two things happened. One was riders are making suggestions. Hey, I'd like that bike if the handlebars were higher or lower. And here's the, guys from manufacturing go, geez, let's punch 10 keys on a CNC machine and we can bend them pretty much any way you want. So we're getting some input here and learning that if we ask people for suggestions on how we should do things, they actually tell us. Maybe there's something to that, wink, wink. And the other half was they were getting bitched at. You're responsible for manufacturing. Well, let me show you the lousy paint job on my bike over here. Come and take a look at this. I saved my whole life to buy this. And look, and the warranty won't support it. And I'm really unhappy. And now they're taking it personally. Now we're coming back into Milwaukee. What do you think? And 100% of them, we have to do this every week. We need to get everybody in this organization out in front of customers. One, to ask for their input on what they like to see us do better. But secondly, to put these fires out. They think we don't care. Then I said, that's the magic bullet right there. They thought we were invisible. We're making ourselves visible. The crowds are getting bigger every week. More people are coming out to do these rides. So word's obviously spreading that we're trying to do something that one way or another is going to benefit them. That's a hell of a lot better than putting a 5% discount or 10% discount on bikes to try to sell them when they're not coming to look at them anyway. At that point, we had what I call executive buy-in. Like, we need to be more visible and more human. Now we need to begin ingraining this in the organization, and very, very challenging at first. And as the CEO, a dear friend of mine, we would have hours-long discussions as we were flying all over the planet about why certain pockets of the business are embracing this notion of being more human and being more aligned with the business, being more vocal, encouraging input from other people. And what we found was, a lot of the old guard within the company said, well, we've always done it this way. And I know you've heard that probably a million times, and you're like, well, this is how we do it here. And what does that have to do with me? We're doing wiring harnesses over here. Who cares about what we think? So basically, when the CEO began to decree, hey, look, we're going to change the behavior of this business. We're going to change who we are in the eyes and the hearts and the minds of the people that we serve. You're either on board with this 100% or you're not. And we will see you immediately if you're not, because you will be able to spot those who are working toward creating way more memorable experiences for customers and way more memorable engagements than we're doing it now, and for each other. And if you're not doing that, well, we're going to have a sit down. And the buy-in began to increase almost exponentially. Oh, shit, this isn't the desired behavior here. This is the expected behavior here. I have to do this. And I see everybody else doing it, so therefore I have to be doing it too. Even if I don't want to at first, I have to do it. And people bought it. And if this was me getting in front of department heads saying, you have to do this, it wouldn't have anywhere near the strength that it has of when the CEO is standing there with his arms folded saying,
My experience, when I get involved in major transitions like this, typically 50% or more of the senior team changes out as part of the process. Yeah. And then managing expectations and how long it takes. If you go at lightning speed, you're 9 or 12 months in, but usually it can be up to 2 years to make it happen. What's your experience there?
It's interesting. We started, I'll say, in earnest to reposition the business in the marketplace in terms of how we relate with customers and what we want to be remembered for and spoken for. And then building the culture to make that happen. That began in earnest around 86, 87. And in less than 4 years time, we went from deep in the red to extraordinarily popular, to being sold out, essentially, because it's working. People we go anywhere. People are coming to spend time with us. We're building this community, and the community is getting bigger because when someone comes out and we spend some time together and have fun, they tell their friends, right? Motorcycling is a very social thing, right? You know them. More and more people are showing up. So if we stop doing this, they'll have nowhere to go. Or if they do have somewhere to go, it's going to be the Honda dealer. They're going to go somewhere else. We're going to keep doing what we're seeing is working here. And what I took from this, because I hear this all the time, is business leaders will say, we're going to really work, double down on creating better experiences for our customers. And I say that it always sounds so great when people say, "Oh, what do you mean specifically by that?" You're going to create, you're selling the back end, dental office software. What are you going to do to create? Oh, well, our salespeople are going to be more engaging. And, basically the long and short of it is they don't even know what they're saying. They're just saying it because they feel that they have to. And if they kind of snap a finger, people will focus. And, or they believe that, customer experience requires huge gestures of some sort. Here is, here's your ringside or your courtside seats for the Lakers game and a 2-inch thick steak and a bottle of great wine. All in experiences is what somebody remembers about you and your business, period. There's nothing more to that. I either remember you positively, because I liked your approach. I liked who you were. I liked how you treated me and made me feel, or I dislike you. Or you're somewhere in the 80% of transactions in the middle where I remember absolutely nothing about it. That was the brochure handed to me at the trade show. There was no experience because I had nothing to remember. So if you were as a business leader thinking, what do I want people to remember? And then tell somebody else about us. Well, that's now let's talk about, customer experience. Now let's talk about ingraining this in the organization of the businesses. What do you want people to remember about you, the people of this business? Not what do you want them to remember about the product that you're selling? Because that'll change by next year anyway.
Yeah. Well, I like we're building emotional loyalty. And then I wrote down, maybe we should have a CEO, a Chief Emotional Connection Officer.
That's, I love that. But what's so oddly is how much pushback I get. And I love pushback, especially if it's like anyone involved in manufacturing, that they've spent their whole lives, their careers, they've come up through these businesses, come up through manufacturing or engineering, and now they're at the top. And we make these things, whatever they are, we make them really well. And what you're trying to tell me, Ken, is that the quality's not important. I go, I've never said that in my life. I said, but what I'm trying to tell you is that can't be your go-to-market message unless you are. So undoubtedly, indisputable, so obviously clear, better than everybody else, and the whole world knows it. Why would you ever lead describing yourself by something that people fully expect and take for granted? All right. If the dairy say our milk is fresh, no kidding, right? Whose is it? Why would you waste your short little opportunity to describe yourself telling me stuff that I already know and take for granted? You just can't do that. Be proud of what you do. And I love that, how defensive people get about their business. I'd like to see that. I said, but let's channel that in a different direction.
Yeah. And all these tickets to play, quality, reliability, all of that.
Commitment to customer satisfaction.
And at the end of the day, for those that buy this thing that we have, service or product, we want them to like us best.
Mhm.
as people is really what you're saying. And I don't hear anybody really talking about it that intentionally, which is amazing. I want to shift a little bit to overcoming a challenge.
Yeah.
When I look at Harley, I don't remember the exact year, but it was probably, back in the 80s where Harley had a reputation of really poor quality, poor reliability. You better have two or three of them because they're going to break down and have a
Mhm.
support vehicle following you around. I think you came through that quickly. Like, how did you can overcome this stuff? So give us some words of encouragement about how to get through stuff like that. And absolutely you can.
Well, that's one of the reasons I talk about uh, if all you're known for is what you do. And that's what people are going to say when they're describing you. Did Harley have quality issues in the 80s? Absolutely. So did everybody else in the bike industry, I might add at that point. But that was kind of Harley's calling card. And what did the business collectively do about that? Nothing. Right? Well, we'll just work on doing what we do better. And then the hearts, minds will eventually catch on. And it just doesn't work that way. That's where what are people saying? You know, antiquated company with poor products. The quality's bad. They don't support their warranty services. What do you want them to say? This is a lifestyle business, camaraderie and freedom. These other things that aren't tied specifically to the product. And then what are we doing to get them to say, well, we got to get in front of them. We need to be present. We need to let them see who we are. They'll be way less inclined to say bad things about our product if they like us as people. And yes, the quality of the product increased spectacularly. But it's not like the market suddenly noticed on one day, hey, that product that was terrible last year is great this year. Doesn't work that way. It was when the human face was applied to the business, when they saw the people behind the business, they had more positive things to talk about than that the products were crappy. Or if they did this, the products used to be crappy, but now they're great. And I said, I'll take that any day.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about getting senior leaders in front of the customers. Is your experience that most senior leadership teams aren't right on the front lines with the customers as often as they should be?
Yeah, they delegate it. Well, that's what our sales and marketing people do. And I said, yeah, but think of the impact that it has in front of customers when they're talking to the absolute top people. First of all, show that wow, that you cared enough to talk to them too. It's a little, it sounds a little bit strange. It's almost a boost to someone's ego to know that they're talking to the ultimate person in charge. So, I'm important enough that I wasn't relegated to a junior salesperson. I'm talking to the top person, and he or she, they're asking me what they would like to see us do as a business, or what I'd like to see them do as a business. So they value my input enough to even ask me that. And I know they're listening to me because they're writing it down. I like that. Someone's paying attention to me, and these are top people. What we did at Harley, we started a program called town hall meetings. If we were at a big motorcycle gathering, Sturgis Bike Rally, Daytona, we'd have town hall meetings where we'd be in the main expo center, have 1,000 seats set up, and just sitting on a stage in front of microphones as the CEO, the head of manufacturing, head of engineering, mics spread out. No speeches, no presentations. We're here to listen to what you have to say. And people would just literally line up behind the microphones with questions. A lot of warranty stuff, or why don't you do this? What happened to that? Why isn't there more racing? And now they're not getting a watered down answer they're getting it from it's a product question. Hey, head of engineering, you answer that one. Hey, Willie Davidson, you answer that one. And the applause would get louder and louder and louder. And I always said, it's not the quality of the answer that they're applauding. They're applauding that they're being listened to. They don't get that from their lawnmower company or from their car company. When did you ever talk to Bill Ford? Never. Here's Willie Davidson right here. Ask him what you want to ask him. Then they did, and they loved it, and it started showing up in motorcycle magazines. And then like the New York Times is and the Wall Street Journals are catching. Here's a company that's not just talking about this stuff. They're actually going out and talking to their customers, and look at how customers react to that. And I always pull my hair out going, what? How is this a hard lesson for business to pick up and learn?
I guess for me, I'm always on the front line with my customers.
That's probably why you've been so successfully.
And what I've noticed is that, and I think this is probably true for any founder, president, CEO of a company, we're going to notice things that our team won't notice, and we're going to connect dots faster and do all of that. But it's also interesting to me going to, different leadership conferences and listening to experts talk about different business topics that probably couldn't do that to save themselves, because you can just tell they're not connected to the front lines out there.
It's so interesting. What I always tell executive leadership at a business, but even the more junior people, I said, when you're out talking with customers, it's at a trade show, it's at one of your installations somewhere, is first of all, there's no question that you could ask someone that they won't answer. Zero. If you ask someone a question that's standing right in front of you, 100% of them will answer the question. Ask them anything. What would you like to see us do better? How did you react when, we first did the installation? Whatever that is, that person is going to begin answering that question. Get your hands out of your pockets when they're answering you. Pull out a pen and just begin writing. And as long as your hand is moving and they're going to keep talking. It's the old reporter's trick, is appeal to the ego. As long as I'm writing, wow, what I'm saying must be so good that they're writing that down. And I always tell people, look, monetize this. Say, the money isn't in you asking the question. The money is in you reacting to what they're telling you. And the longer they see you react, they're exposing themselves to you. They're feeling happy about you because you're listening so keenly to what they're saying. That feels good. It's a little ego stroke, but they remember these guys actually listen and care. So yeah. If I get a chance to meet with these people or meet with somebody else in that business again, I'm going to take it. I'm going to go.
I think it has to be part of their job description. You have to spend X amount of time on the front lines with your customers.
And not just that, but as cliche as it sounds sometimes, it's also the internal customers of people within businesses, even smaller mid-sized business who don't know who the boss is or don't know who the owner is, or doesn't know who the president or the CFO or the CEO or the COO is by name. And as CEOs or as company leaders, you got 500 employees, and do you know them all by name? And this, well, of course not. That's 500 people. I'm doing my best, but how well do they know you? Because if you're making the effort to know, first of all, you're going to remember them if you're engaged in them in conversation. But anytime you talk to an employee, they're going and telling other employees about the conversation that they just had with, positive or negative. So that's the remember and repeat thing. What I say to this person, he's going to say to somebody else. So that's how you build your reputation within the business.
And I think our customers, they're internal, they're external, that actually buy from us, their communities that we touch, their suppliers, it's all of it. And yeah, I knew all 500 plus team members' names. I was out there all the time. I'd walk into a department and they're all running businesses within a business, and it's so exciting. And for the most part, I thought 80+% of them were acting like the CEO of their own role within the business.
How great is that? But if you didn't make the effort to know them, that those guys, first of all, it wouldn't be visible to you, but second of all, they wouldn't feel obligated to behave that way.
Well, for me, it's about productive engagement. I don't want them to feel a certain way I want to be a certain way that energizes them. I think that's the environment we create from which they create value should be super, super energizing. As we're kind of running up against the time here, this has been awesome, by the way. I'm going to hold you to the 2-year, maybe we go solve it thing. For the companies that just don't believe they have that exciting of a business, what's your advice for, discovering what they can leverage? It's like if you go into Harley and they're heading for bankruptcy, and like, what do we have that we can leverage to build human connection and community? Oh my gosh, they're tattooing our logos on their bodies. Okay, let's start there and build. But what's your advice for discovering what can be leveraged, really for any business where they can start building this emotional loyalty, this human connection.
I love the idea of tapping into the creativity of people working within the business. So anytime that you have, whether it's you have a 5-person company or a 500, an opportunity to sit down with coffee on a table and say, look, obviously what we make, we're really good at this, but if someone's talking about us, what would we want them to say? What are the human qualities we'd want them to attach to this business? And once you get past we can't be saying what others say or what they predict, then the creativity lights begin to ignite in people's brains. And then they start speaking more humanly. We're the coolest. We're the smartest. We're the most fun, or we can be. We love our jobs the most. We have the most passion. And we say, well, let's tap into some of this and think about, all right, who's the person that answers the phone? And for most people, especially new customers, that's their entree into a business. It's the person who's taking the order or whatever. Let's be that person. Bling, I'm the caller coming in. And it's not, thanks for calling, please hold, or can I take your order? Or how can I help you? Do we want that person to say, you said, okay, we're cool and we're fun and we're these other things. Well, how does that become real for the person on that other end of the phone? He can't even see you. She can't even see you. And then people start talking about that. It's like, so already we're completely changing our approach to how we do our jobs every day. What I'm expected to do here, I've never been asked to think about stuff like this before. And I say, look at us, look at the business from the outside in. That's you have 30 seconds on the phone with us. That's the person who's going to pay for our holiday party this year if we do our job right. What kind of energy do we want that person to sense from us? What kind of, passion or enthusiasm or empathy? What is it? What are those buttons that we want to push? Well, how do we make that real? And everyone will have ideas on how to do that. So now it's not just the CEO saying, here's how you're going to do it. It's, we kind of crafted this together. And people support what they help create way more than they support being told what to do.
Yeah. And if you look at the two primary sets of customers, the team members and the people that actually buy from you, I think there needs to be the right balance. I remember back in the day, we would challenge other companies to paintball wars and go out there with our team. There were a number of years where we built a demolition derby car and we're out there. It's like, oh, stop this thing because the car just broke in half. But it was so much fun. It was almost like the harder it got, the harder we laughed going through it. But I wonder sometimes, Ken, if, team members feel like everything's about the customer, they don't really give a shit about what's happening with us. I think there has to be a balance of both. Do you have a story or two?
Well, what begins to happen, and actually I do, because we sort of backed ourselves into a bit of a corner in our early days of turning the business around and repositioning it at Harley. Remember I said we were going out and spending time with customers on weekends, which then kind of spawns this world where there's, huge Harley gatherings happening somewhere in the world all the time. So we're dumping a lot of resources and human and financial capital into going out and spending time with customers. And we're coming back and having, again, these kind of conversations in the corner office saying, we're doing a better job of communicating with and connecting with our customers than we are with our own people. And that sooner or later, that disconnect will become obvious because, the world sees you for who you are, not who you say you are. And if we're not actively engaged with people within our own business, treating them as customers and us as suppliers to each other, if we're not getting in front of people and asking how we could do our jobs, but how we can better serve and delight them, if we're not doing it internally, eventually we'll stop doing it externally. And then that became a huge push within the business. We have to foster this cross-functional, not just communication, but engagement. We need to know who each other are. Break down the silos, break down the animosity, the interdepartmental jealousies and things like that happen. And again, humanize We're not these invisible people in the finance department who do nothing but, cut your budgets and make your life difficult. That's Phil and Joe. They're the world's biggest Packer fans. We love them. Whatever that is, I didn't know you before, so I'm going to speak ill of you. I do know you now, so I'm going to engage you in conversations about how we can do things better together. And as those conversations begin to take hold, nobody's thinking about why we're having the conversation. They're just doing it. And then that slowly becomes ingrained into the DNA of the business. Don't sit and wait for somebody to bring you an answer. Get up and go see them.
As I'm listening to all this, I think it has to be a commitment to going down this path and operating this way, being this way with the interactions, as opposed to what's the thing I can put in place and I don't have to worry about it again. It's like you want to be this way as a leader, culturally within the organization. And those that lean into it, they don't seem to have trouble finding employees. They don't seem to have trouble finding customers and all of that. The ones that complain about all those things, you can just see they're not leaning into their team. They're not leaning into community or any of that. It has to be, to me, Ken, one of the biggest, from a material value creation standpoint, one of the biggest success strategies out there. And if more people really understood it, they would just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the language to get them to, hey, there's a big path here, but it can't be, oh, I made money, I'm done. I didn't set it and forget it. I'm also having fun. That's why I talk about emotional energy and spiritual vibration. Spiritual is about connectedness. I think what it feels like to be in the company, I think emotional energy for leaders is the X factor. I want balance across the board, and now we're having fun. So what's your advice on language for, more of the folks listening to see this is a real success strategy going forward? And by the way, you'll probably feel a lot better.
I think that the same rule applies to employees and employee engagement, employee loyalty, attraction and retention, team building, that apply to customers. And that is that a customer or buyer, as I mentioned earlier, we constantly seek out delight, and we will return to any source of delight. Anything that makes us feel good about ourselves, we will seek it out and return to it as long as it continues to do that for us. That's what loyalty is. But we also have to look at terms of loyalty of the people on our teams and our employees. If we do that for the people that are working for us, it's not just that you are a set of hired hands here in a command and control environment, and I'm going to tell you what you're supposed to do, and as long as you do it, you keep your job here. But if instead I'm going to focus on how can I be a source, not just a source of mentorship and information for this person, but how can I be a source of delight for this person? How can I make the person feel better in my presence so that when he or she walks home, they know that they can come back and get more of that? And you do that by simply asking them questions about themselves. So what do you think, man? Where do you want to go with your life? When's the last time somebody asked, if you're a 2 or 3 year in employee, that you were ever asked a question like that by a leader? Where do you want to go with your life, and how can I help you get there? How can we as a business help you to become the person that you want to be? Oh, somebody cares about me, and you're writing down what they're telling you. Let's make that happen. In exchange for that, here's what I want from you. I need more buy-in. I need more efficiency in your reports or whatever those things are. Let's work together to create this. And that person feels he or she, someone's looking out for me here. I like that. I feel like I know the people above me and that they care about me. I like that too. I'm way less inclined to jump ship and go to the next employer for a 15% salary increase, because now it's not about money anymore. Yes, at the end of the day, we all work for money. But if I know someone's looking out for me and I've got something to look forward to through working here, I'm way more likely to stay. That's loyalty. You do something for me that makes me feel good, trusted, wanted, appreciated. I'm going to keep coming back. And how that got lost, Lee, I'll never understand.
Love all of that. It's to me, it's common sense, but what you're saying is rare. It's not the majority of leaders. And there's only a handful of leaders in my entire life that made me feel that way out of the
Yeah.
thousands that I've interacted with. So, it's something for all the listeners and, all of us to, keep looking at and try to perpetuate it out there.
Well, think, Lee, for just a second, if you were visiting a customer or a customer headquarters or a customer facility, and you were walking down the hall with the CEO or the CFO, and you could notice immediately who's engaged with their employees and fellow team members and who isn't. And the guy who's walking with his hands in his pockets, just talking to you while employees are walking past, who isn't or staring down in the elevator full of people as they're coming up. That's the guy you want to elbow. Look at these people in the eye, man. They're looking at you. They know who you are. You have such an opportunity here, even if it's just for 2 seconds to make, hey, man, good to see you. Pow. The guy's going to talk about you too. The president said hi to me today. You don't think that's important? It's damn important.
Yeah, I can always tell when they're not in the game. I've toured a lot of places with a CEO and, hey, how's it going? Whereas if I brought somebody on a tour with me, we're going through the shop and we could walk half a day to try to get through everything. I know their numbers. I know their names. They're excited to tell me what's going on. But a lot of the folks, when I go on tours, the employees won't make eye contact because they're
exactly. It's like the king is walking through. It's like, you can't do that.
You don't want to get noticed.
Yeah.
Right. Ken, for our listeners, if they want to learn more about your work or connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, they can go to my website, kenspeaks.com, or ask me questions on LinkedIn or send me an email at ken@kenspeaks.com. There's no question that anybody on the planet has ever asked me that I don't answer. So if you got a question, reach out and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this. Any last thoughts for our listeners or any takeaways from our discussion?
Put humanity first. Please don't think of that as something that is soft. Just remember that the people that you like in the world, the reasons that you like them aren't because of what they do and how they do it. The reason you like them is because of who they are and how they make you feel, how they engage you, how they show interest in you. When you do that for other people, that's contagious behavior. Same rule applies in business. 100% of the time. I either like you or I don't. It's got nothing to do with what you make.
Awesome. Well, Ken, thank you so much for being here. This was amazing.
Oh, thanks, Lee. It was fun.
Yeah. And this has been the Show Your Value podcast. If you got some value out of today's episode, I certainly did. Please like and subscribe. And until next time, show your value to the world.